Goedemorgen Zwolle. Ik ben Paul Nixon. I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about family group conferences, or what you call them in here in Netherlands, Eigen Conferences. This is a really important conference today, and I'm really pleased to be able just to say a few things about this amazing way of working. Family group conferences are attracting interest throughout the world. What we're seeing now increasingly in research and practice is this new way of working developing in exciting new areas. What you're talking about here today is the use of family group conferences for people with special needs. I don't think that's been done before, so it's really interesting to see what comes from this conference today. Family group conferences first began in New Zealand at a very important time in the history of New Zealand. What was happening there was that the Māori people in New Zealand were very unhappy. There were too many Māori children in care, too many Māori children in custody, and the Māori people were saying something must be wrong. The government commissioned an independent inquiry into finding out what should be done about this. And they took a very novel approach. They decided to travel around the country talking to people about what should we change, how should we make things better. And they met the Māori people on the marae, which is the spiritual community meeting place for Māori people. And what they found was a lot of people came. They came to those meetings and they described a litany of sound, people very unhappy, deeply unhappy about being marginalised in key decisions that affect their lives. So what came from that consultation with the people in the community was a proposal to do things differently, to give citizens more power and more control over their own lives, to give them decision-making powers, and that was called the Family Group Conference. One of the things we found with family group conferences is that both family and professionals can be anxious about using this way of decision-making. It's partly because people aren't used to being given the real opportunity to make decisions about their own lives. And often if families have had things done to them and had decisions taken out of their lives, they may feel less comfortable with the notion of having decisions themselves. Indeed, there's research way back in the 1970s in institutions where Seligman found that if people had things done to them or for them all the time, they felt helpless, and it's actually a state called learned helplessness, where they felt they couldn't make their own decisions. Now, what Family Group Conferences tries to do is to turn that around and give people confidence and power to make their own decisions. So you do meet resistance to this idea sometimes from professionals who are unsure about sharing power or giving power to families, and sometimes from families who are unsure about or less confident about making their own decisions. So there's a key role here for coordinators to talk with the family, find out what their worries are, find out what their hopes and dreams are for the conference, and give them inspiration and energy to take control of their own lives through family decision making. Family group conferences will be a bit different for clients with special needs, but broadly they're the same. The same principles apply about involving as many families as possible, bringing people together and giving them the belief that they can take decisions about their future. A key difference with people with special needs may be they need extra support or help to have their say. So if there's a child, a young person, or a parent who needs support to speak at the conference, it may be the coordinator needs to organise an independent advocate or support person to help them have their say before the meeting or at the meeting itself. This will be a key difference, but broadly, the method and the approach will be similar to elsewhere. I can see no reason why Eigen conferences wouldn't apply very well to the context of people with special needs. And I think it's really exciting that you're going to trial that and take that forward. Something quite unique, actually, as far as I'm aware, quite unique in the Western world. Well, family group conferences do present challenges for social workers. In the usual ways of doing things, social workers are more familiar with an orthodox model where they gather together with other agencies, share information, and take decisions with family members present, but not with family members leading the process. The difference with family group conferences is the family lead the process, and it's the role of the social worker to support that process, bring knowledge and skills and resources to help the discussions. So really, we're asking social workers to change their role and to think differently and to work differently in this context. What we want them to do is provide information and support to families that enables them to make decisions about their futures. This means taking a step back somewhat, thinking about how you provide information, assessments, information about help and resources so that families can make good decisions about their futures. It's not a less skillful role. I believe it's actually a more skillful role because you have to work with a wider range of people. You have to work with grandparents, uncles, aunties, and family friends. So the social work skill is to think broadly and work broadly with a wide family network. And that's a new way of working. To really take that forward, it's a new way of working, but does rely on those core social work skills of respect, communication, engagement, and working with a wide diversity of people and of culture. So I think the skills that are indispensable here are a belief in families, a willingness to work openly, flexibly, and to do something different, to change the way we work, engaging people and getting the most out of families and out of communities. And I think that's very exciting for social workers because it's something we haven't had the chance to do for quite some time. To work in flexible ways with families and communities is a real skill of the Family Group Conference social worker, and I think it's an exciting way for social workers to work as well. The way for a successful FGC is to remember the core principles and values about why we do this work. We're trying to give the family control over the decision making, make sure that they're their decisions and they're for their children. So really the role of professionals and coordinators is to facilitate the family in that role. Family group conferences are a very powerful tool to give citizens control over their own lives. And really the essence for professionals is to take a step back and allow families to do that, to work out in their own way how they'll reach these conclusions. The meetings are organised at a time and a place that suit the family, and the traditions of the family set the framework and the colour, if you like, of the conference. It's very important that family feel in control of the conference process so they can get the outcomes that they want. It's not our role as professionals to take over that. It's our role to support it, make sure it happens, and to support the plans and decisions once they're made. One of the main concerns about FGCs I often hear from professionals is it safe? Can we be confident that giving families decision making will mean that they make safe decisions for children? And of course for guardians this is an important question too, because they have legal responsibilities to make sure that children are safe. The Family Group Conference is designed in a way to make sure that families can make safe decisions. The coordinator works hard to prepare people for the meeting, explaining what the meeting's about and finding out who should come and who should be there. This gets family thinking already about what they must achieve in the conference. The conference itself requires professionals to describe a bottom line. In other words, something that will make sure that the child is safe. And the family plan has to address that bottom line. So unless the plan addresses the question of the child's safety, it won't be agreed, and there won't be an agreement to implement a plan. That provides a safety net to make sure in those cases where families aren't sure about the issues of safety, they can produce a plan that is safe for the children. If they can't, it won't be agreed by the professionals. The research tells us very clearly that family group conferences, their plans are agreed in 90 to 95% of the cases. Research is also showing us that this is a safe way to make decisions for children. So although it's new and it's different, the evidence tells us and our experience tells us that this is a safe way to make decisions for children, and guardians and professionals who feel responsible for kids should feel reassured once they see the conferences happening, because they do have a role to agree the plans to make sure that they're safe. I'm going off to New Zealand next week. I'm travelling from England with my family to move permanently to become chief social worker there. I'm really excited about that and that new opportunity. I'm also really excited about what's happening here in Netherlands with FGCs, Eigen Conferences. It's really inspiring to see what you're doing. I'll be very interested to see how it develops in your country, particularly in the context of special needs, which I've not seen done before. You are becoming part of a global movement to do something new and exciting and different with families, and I really wish you well with it. I'll be watching closely from New Zealand, and we'll keep in touch to see what we can learn from you as you go. I wish you well with the conference. Goodbye. Tot ziens.